What's going on, guys? Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday. And for today's matchup, we have Adventures Pranks versus an Evil Twin with me as the prankster going first. Now, with my current hand, I do have one hand trap negate in the form of Call by the Grave, so in case my opponent ashes me or maxes me, I'm okay with that. I can still go into my combo. I use my Prankist Play search for my Roxy's. Now, you guys know I do this because I love to get the banish plus the draw effect, because sometimes you can draw into a combo extension or a hand trap that is really good against your opponent. So I go into my combo with Lancia. My opponent decides to Ash Blossom my first graveyard activation, which is the right call. I had a Call by the Grave, as I said before. I could use it to negate it, keep going on into my combo. We get the Doodle on the field, and once I chain block with my Doodle my graveyard activation, my opponent imperms me. So right here, Imperm on the Doodle means that usually if you don't have Pranks or Pandemonium in your hand, Imperm on Doodle means that you cannot do a full Prank-Its combo. You cannot go into Butler on your opponent's turn. So the best thing you can do if your opponent imperms you is that you go into your Predaplan, Verte, Anaconda, and if you start with either the Fansies, Lamsies, or Dropsies, basically your blue, red, or green Prank-Its card to go into your combo, and if you run Thunder Dragon Fusion, you can use the Predaplan to go into Thunder Dragon Fusion to go into your Butler, or you could put DPE on the field and that will be it. But since I started with Pandemonium in my hand, this Imperm does not do anything to me whatsoever. I could still go into full Butler combo. The way to do that is by using the Fansies. You just send a copy of whatever card you need in the graveyard. So if you have Pandemonium in your hand, you send Pranks, and if you have Pranks in your hand, you send Pandemonium. That way, you could go into your second copy of Doodle, you tribute that Doodle, pull out the Pranks from the graveyard along with a Prankist monster, and you basically have your full combo that way. So, as I said before, this Imperm does not matter to me. I do my full combo, go into my Bow Wow, hoping that this Roxy's activation from the graveyard gets me a combo extension. Sadly, I drew into a Garnet, which was the Dasher. So I set down the Forbidden, set down the Panday, end my turn, activate Pranks, and look at this. Could this card not have came in one card earlier? I would have been able to put DPE on the field as well, but sadly, cannot do it since I already ended my turn. Opponent's draw phase. We pushed past two hand traps my opponent threw at me. So draw phase, my opponent, I activate the Bow Wow, get my Prankits Butler combo card into my hand. And now I know my opponent is playing Evil Twin. So the reason why I activate Pandemonium instantly on his first normal summon, and when he starts to chain link with the Leela to get the Keysickle on the field, is that I wanted to use the Forbidden Droplet right here, right now, hoping that once I go into my combo and I negate the Leela search for the Keysickle, I can maybe disrupt his combo completely, because my opponent only had 3 cards in his hand. The chances of him having a combo extension would have been pretty low, but let's see how it goes. So chain link 1 my Pandemonium, chain link 2 my Droplet. That way with the Droplet, I could send the Pandemonium to the graveyard, and my opponent can respond to it with any spell cards. We go into our Butler once the chain resolution happens, and Forbidden Droplet negates the Leela on the field. Now we have the priority on the graveyard activations. I get all my graveyard activations, and I am not gonna link my Butler to this to pop just his Leela on the field. That makes no sense. Why waste your Butler to just pop your opponent's Leela after the Leela is negated anyways? Now if my opponent had a combo extension, I was hoping I could just pop my Butler and wipe out his monsters once he goes into his combo extension. And sadly, my opponent did have a Forbidden Droplet in his hand as well. Now keep in mind, Forbidden Droplet only negates cards that you send similar to those cards. So if you send a spell card, your opponent cannot activate spells. If you send trap or monster, your opponent cannot activate those. My opponent sent a spell card, which was the secret password. That means I could still pop my Butler. So right here, I use my Butler's pop and pop my opponent's Leela that was on the field. Secret password does not really matter to me. It's gonna give him a card which could be a combo extension if he plays the Live Twin home. which turned out my opponent was playing. He was playing the live twin home. He activates it, sends the Imperm to the graveyard, specials out a key sickle on the field, activates it, puts a Leela, goes off into his combo. I cannot stop this combo anymore because my butler is already negated through the forbidden droplet, so he pops off. My opponent, respect to him, he managed to push past my board and just goes into his Trouble Sunny. And Trouble Sunny, once it comes in the field, he will just go into battle phase, kill off my butler. My butler's floating effect does activate, which puts my Doodle-Doo on the field. Now I specifically targeted Doodle-Doo. I had other cards in the graveyard I could have targeted. I could have targeted Bow Wow. I could have targeted another copy of Dropsies. I could even targeted the Fansies or Lampsies, but I chose to put Doodle-Doo on the field because if my Doodle-Doo stays on the field, I will be able to activate it on my next turn, pull out 2 cards from the graveyard, add them to my hand, maybe make a big play happen, because I know with this, my opponent will activate the Trouble Sunny's quick effect to tribute itself during battle phase, putting the Leela and Keysickle on the field, and try to kill all my monsters. Now right here, my opponent did not probably read how Bow Wow Bark works, or doesn't know how Bow Wow Bark works. He targeted my Doodle-Doo, which is immune to destruction through card effects this turn itself. So he goes into battle phase. Again, he's killing off all my cards. He kills off the 2 Dropsies that I had on the field, so he knows the 2 Dropsies goes into my Totally. He kills those off, activates the Trouble Sunny in the graveyard, banishes it to send to the graveyard my Doodle-Doo. So Trouble Sunny effect of banishment is not a destruction effect, mind you. It is the same as Zeus or an Eldritch effect of sending a card to the graveyard. So Bow Wow Bark does not protect you against that. So he makes me throw away my Doodle-Doo, or excuse me, he targets my Doodle-Doo and sends it to the graveyard, then goes into another Trouble Sunny, sets down a card, ends his turn. Now I still had a card on the field to go into my combo with. I did not draw into any cards, so I start going off into my combo. I know my opponent will activate the Trouble Sunny's effect as soon as I go into my combo, so I was not too worried about this. I was worried about this card on the field being a Call by the Grave. That was what I was worried about. It turns out it was not a Call by the Grave, so once he goes into his Keysickle plus Leela, he does his full combo, pops a card on the field, which was my Lampsies, draws a card with Keysickle. We don't really care too much about it. My main goal was to put my DPE on the field, that way I could push past my opponent's board, kill off both the monsters he had on the field, and then pop the back row, whatever it may be. So Miyamu kills the Keysickle, DPE kills the Leela, use DPE, pop itself, pop the forbidden droplet that my opponent had set in the back row. Thankfully really good for us. Then activate the DPE, end my turn, activate Pranks, draw into a Nib. Now I have 2 really good cards in my hand. Why do I say I have 2 really good cards? Because Artifact Lancia prevents my opponent from Call by the Graving or activating the Trouble Sunny from the graveyard. And Nib means that if my opponent goes into his combo, I get to wipe out my opponent's full board completely. So watch how I play. I do not activate Lancia on my opponent's draw phase. I wait. I wait in case he drew into a Call by the Grave to Call by the Grave my DPE. So it's all about trying to bait out your opponent's cards. So if my opponent had used Call by the Grave on my DPE, I would have chained my Artifact Lancia to that to prevent the Call by the Grave from going through. And right here, once my standby phase comes in, my DPE activates, putting itself on the field, and then I chain link my Artifact Lancia to that. This way, my opponent cannot activate the Trouble Sunny in the graveyard. If I had allowed my opponent, if I had not Artifact Lancia'd him, if my opponent goes into main phase, he would have just started his turn by banishing the Trouble Sunny in the graveyard to make my DPE go to the graveyard without having the destruction effect. So DPE would have been useless. So as I said, I had 2 really good draws. Then my opponent normals out the Leela, pulls the Keysickle with the Leela. I activate DPE and I pop the Keysickle, not the Leela. Why? Because Leela's effect is already activated and these cards are hard once per turn. So if I pop the Leela, he would have been able to activate the Keysickle to put the Leela on the field. So did not want that happening, so I popped that. My opponent still had a combo extension somehow. He had the Snitch searching for another card, he goes into his combo again. So at this point, I know I have to nib my opponent. once he gets the Leela on the field with the Kisa kill, that's his 5th special, that's it. We nib our opponent. Nothing. Don't want to deal with that whatsoever. And with this, my opponent just outright scoops. He knows he has no other play to make and he ends up scooping. That's going to be the end of the game, guys. If you guys do like this kind of videos, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing to my channel for more daily prank and video uploads, and if you guys are interested in the live version of all of this, I do live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/jpbduel. Link along with my schedule will be in the video description itself for you guys to check out. This is JPBDuel signing off for today. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!